My dear students of 20th batch, Assalamu alaikum. I am Afroza Rahmat Rinky, welcoming you all to the third online lecture on tourism, principles, practices, and philosophies. In our today's lecture, we shall cover chapter 12, and the name of chapter 12 is Tourism Components and Tourism Supply. So you can see the chapter title here. From this chapter, we shall learn the major supply components that any tourist area must possess. You will be able to use the mathematical formula to calculate the number of guest rooms needed for estimated future demand. You shall also be able to develop a task analysis to match supply components, and you will be able to discover methods of adjusting supply components in accordance with fluctuating demand levels. So these are the learning objectives of this chapter. Now students, in your previous chapter, in chapter 1, you have already seen that tourism is a complete phenomena. Tourism is a complete phenomena that actually is a composite of some activities, some policies, some services, and some industries. And all of these involve many players that deliver the travel experience. Before going to the main lecture, this is important for you to recap what is tourism. Then, the quality and the quantity of supply components are critical factors in determining tourism success. The purpose of this chapter is to look at the physical supply side of tourism. So students, the main objective of this chapter is to understand the supply side as an organizer, or as an if you are in a managerial position. What are the activities, policies, services, and infrastructure that you have to offer to your customers? That will be called the supply side of tourism. Now, the first question of this chapter is components of tourism supply. What are the major components that any tourist area must possess? So, there are basically four major components of tourism supply. The first one is natural resources and environment. So, this is the first component of tourism supply. The second component you can see here is the built environment. The third component is the operating sectors of the tourism industry. And the fourth component is the spirit of hospitality. Now, let's understand this picture more clearly. So, in the outer phase, you can see the first component of supply side is natural resources. So, natural resources will mean the physiography, the climate, the natural environment, the people of a certain place. Then, when we are talking about the built environment, it means all the environment that are made by human, all the infrastructure and superstructure that human have developed for the purpose of tourism. Now, in the third part, you can see the operating sectors of the tourism industry. This actually means the transportation and accommodation, and there comes the spirit of hospitality. Now, both of these components are in the same phase, and they give memorable experience to the visitors. Now, you can again see tourism supply components are classified into four broad categories. They are natural resources and environment, built environment, operating sectors of the tourism industry, and spirit of hospitality and cultural resources. Students, at the first part, we shall understand thoroughly what is the first component of tourism supply. So the first component of tourism supply is natural resources and environment. So this category constitutes the fundamental measures of supply. It refers to the natural resources that any area has available for the use and enjoyment of visitors. So very easy for you to understand. If any tourist spot have the natural beauties, the physiography, the climate, the water, the natural beauties, all of these comprises the first component. Now, natural resources and environment includes air and climate, physiography of that particular region, landforms, flora, fauna, bodies of water, beaches, natural beauty, water supply for drinking, sanitation, and similar uses. So, very normally, you can remember the God gifted natural resources that are available to any tourist spot is the first supply side of this tourism component. Probably the most noticeable factor are the pronounced seasonal variation of temperature zones and the changes in demand for recreational use of such areas. To even out demand, the more multiple use possibilities, the better. The closer in the area is its likely market, the more desirable it is and the more likely to have a high demand. Now students, here you can see picture of some great wonder of the world. Now do anyone of you recognize what picture is it? I hope many of you do. This is the Grand Canyon, one of the wonders, one of the natural wonders of the world. So this is entirely nature made. So we can say this is a natural resource. The second one is Everest. The Mount Everest has been also one of the peak attraction point for the tourists. Now you see this tourism sector have immense natural resource and this natural resource is the major component of supply side. The third one. Now students, can anyone of you recognize it? This is the very well-known place in Bangladesh that is Sajek Valley. And this is Bogale. This is also a very beautiful natural resources. I showed you this picture so you do remember easily what is the first component of natural first component of tourism supply side. Now, now we have entered into the second part or second component of tourism supply, and that is built environment. Students say this component has been developed within or upon the natural environment. So it refers to the man-made structures, features, facilities viewed collectively as an environment in which people live and work. So if we want to define it more easily, it will be like this. The built environment in tourism refers to the tourism infrastructure which includes facilities constructed primarily to support visitors and visitation activities. This built environment includes infrastructure, superstructure, auto traveler services, roadside parks, and other structures. Here you can see a pictorial representation of built environment. Built environment is everything that is humanly made, very easy for you to understand. Everything that is humanly made is part of the built environment. It fulfills human purposes to mediate the overall environment with results that affect the environmental context. So you can see this is human. This is the structure that human has made and this structure is actually affecting the environmental context. So we can summarize that everything, every structure that is made by human will be called built environment. Now, the infrastructure consists of all underground and surface developmental construction. So, the built environment in tourism includes water supply system, sewage disposal system, gas line, electrical line, drainage system, roads, communication networks, and many commercial facilities. Students, I hope you can relate now that if you just go to a natural, beautiful place, that's not enough for you. If you want to stay there, if you want to visit that place, there are also these mandatorily needed services that you need. And these services, these structures are made by human. So it is called built environment. Students, now we shall see some examples of built environment. Now you can see human have made airports, roads, railroads, parking lot, parks, marine drive, dock facilities, bus, train stations. Then there are resorts, restaurants, shopping center, museums, stores. So all of these sectors are actually operating sectors, but since they are made by human, we can call them part of the built environment. Now we shall learn the component of tourism supply. The third one is operating sectors of the tourism industry. Now the word itself is quite explanatory. Operating sectors means the all those services, all those sectors that are actually operating your industry. So this component has been developed to typify the movement of people in travel. This segment delivers the tourism experiences and is viewed by the media and public as tourism industry. So when we are talking about tourism industry, operating sector is one of the inseparable part of this industry. Students, you can see to develop and deliver tourism services and experiences with a spirit of hospitality is the main objective of this sector. So, the main objective of operating sector is what? Developing tourism services and providing them with a spirit of hospitality. Third one, C, operating sector comprises of accommodation and transportation facilities. Without these facilities, people would be unable to enjoy natural and built environment. So students, in operating sector, you are providing your visitors accommodation services and transportation facilities. All of this comprises the operating sector, right? See, the transportation sector is one of the most important components in the tourism industry because nothing happens until someone leaves home. Tourists need a place to stay and to be fed. So the accommodation sector and the food service sector are important supply components. তাহলে what you can remember that operating sector comprises of accommodation and transportation. Accommodation. For successful tourism, accommodation must be available in sufficient quantity to match the demand of the traveler who arrive at the destination. Hotels vary tremendously in their physical facilities, level of maintenance, cleanliness, and services provided. The hotels must provide the physical facilities, price ranges, locations, and services that meet the expectations, wants, and needs of the traveler. What you understood from this? You understood the importance of accommodation in tourism sector. Now we shall learn the types of accommodation. Students, there are basically three types of accommodation. The first one is hotel, the second one is condominium, and the third one is time sharing facility. So hotel can be classified as commercial hotel, resorts, motor, airport, and residential areas, whereas condominium apartments or real estate management firms often manage such apartments or group of condos within a building or complex and thus serve as agents for the owners. So did you understand anything from this definition? No. This is actually pretty complex. Let's take a look at some easy definition. Students see, condominiums means a building or complex of buildings. You see, it might be a building or it might be some buildings together, which contains a number of individually owned apartments or houses. So, will be individual buyer of apartments and or there might be many apartments together. Individual buyers of condominium units use the apartment for their own enjoyment or rent it to the tourists. So what did you understood from it? You understood that condominium might be a building or condominium might be complex or composites of some buildings. This building will have individual owner, and this individual owner might purchase it for their own enjoyment, or they may rent it to the tourists according to their own wishes. Now there is a another thing, that is third type of accommodation, which is called time sharing. Time sharing, the name itself is quite explanatory. Time sharing is a technique for multiple ownership. See, time sharing is a technique for multiple ownership for using resource and recreational properties. So as a visitor, if you want to use a resort and recreational properties, you can have multiple ownership for it. When you have multiple ownership for your resort or properties, we will call that time sharing. Also see, a time sharing is a type of vacation lodging, as in vacation lodging or recreational properties. It is usually located near a resort facility. These properties are typically resort condominium units in which multiple parties, the most important part in time sharing is multiple parties hold right to use the property. So multiple parties have the right to use the property because there are multiple owners, but these multiple owners will not use the property in the same time, rather they will be allotted different time. So multiple owner will share their time to enjoy recreational facilities in a resort, and we will call that time sharing accommodation system. This system permits purchasers to own or have occupancy rights. Occupancy as in সে সেখানে একটা নির্দিষ্ট টাইমে থাকার যে রাইটটা, সেটাকে বলছে occupancy rights at a resort for a period of time each year for a fraction of the purchasing price each year. So it means the purchaser can stay at a resort, but in which time he will stay at a resort, it will be pre-decided, and you don't have to pay amount for every year. Rather, you can pay the whole amount once, and then you can enjoy the fraction of your purchasing price each year. এটা ব্যাপারটা আমি আপনাকে আরো সহজ করে বুঝাই। ধরেন আপনি কক্সবাজার সমুদ্রের পাড়ে একটা সুন্দর বাড়ি কিনলেন, যেটার নাম হচ্ছে ধরেন বাগান বিলাস। সেই বাগান বিলাস আপনারা ধরলেন কি করলেন, 5 জন ভিজিটর মিলে আপনারা ক্রয় করলেন, এবং যখন ক্রয় করেছেন তখনই ধরেন আপনি 10 লক্ষ টাকা একেবারে দিয়ে দিয়েছেন। এখন আপনি কি করবেন, আপনি প্রতি বছর যাবেন এবং 1 লক্ষ টাকা, ধরেন 10 বছরের জন্য আপনি সেটা ক্রয় করে ফেলেছেন। প্রতি বছর আপনি 1 লক্ষ টাকা 1 লক্ষ টাকা বা 10,000 টাকা 10,000 টাকা করে পার পিরিয়ডের জন্য ওই টাকাটা থেকে কাটা যাবে। এটার কারণে যেটা হয়, আপনার যদি এমন হয় যে আপনি প্রতি বছর ওই টুরিস্ট ডেস্টিনেশনে যাবেনই, সেক্ষেত্রে আপনার ওই পারচেজিং প্রাইসটা একেবারে দিয়ে দেওয়ার কারণে আপনার থাকার অসুবিধা বা বারবার রিজার্ভ করার অসুবিধা, এগুলো সম্পূর্ণভাবে কি হয়ে যায়, কমে যায়। Moreover, you can define or you can set what period of time you want to spend in that particular place. So time sharing is a technique which is becoming very, very popular worldwide for using resource and recreational places. Now, the fourth component of tourism supply is spirit of hospitality and cultural resources. Students, the development of hospitality resources is perhaps the most important factor in tourism. The finest physical facilities will be worthless if the tourist feels unwelcome. A favorable attitude toward the visitor can be created through programs of public information and propaganda. What did you understood from this? You understood that if you cannot make your visitors feel welcomed and warm, all the physical facilities will be worthless. Now, the social foundation of the destination is its culture. Anywhere, any places you go, you will see that we always try to find its culture. We always want to explore the culture. Now, when we are talking about the culture, it means the language, the customs, the religion, the way of talking, their belief, their behavior. All of these actually shows us the cultural resources of that particular place. It is the people and the cultural wealth of an area that make possible the successful hosting of tourists. So, spirit of hospitality and cultural resources, all of these will make your customer feel welcome, valuable, and they will feel to come to the tourist spot again and again. See, tourists are often more attracted by a facility designed in conformance with local architecture as a part of local landscape than by the modernistic hotel that might be found at home, because people often travel to immerse themselves in an environment totally different from their own. So this para gives you that idea. When we visit a place, when we tour a place, we want to be a part of that, part of the culture in that particular place. For example, আপনি কি করেছেন, আপনি পহেলা বৈশাখের সময় you went to the পার্বত্য চট্টগ্রাম area, এবং আপনি সেখানে গিয়ে আপনি কি সেখানে চাইবেন যে ওখানে একটা খুব 5 স্টার হোটেল থাকুক, আমি সেখানে শুয়ে বসে থাকবো? নো। রাদার আপনি হয়তো তাদের পহেলা বৈশাখ হচ্ছে, আপনি সেখানে বিজু বা সাংরাই উৎসবে আপনি কি করেছেন, পার্টিসিপেট করেছেন। তার মানে এটার মানে কি? এটার মানে হচ্ছে when we are traveling a place, we want to be a part of that culture, we want to enjoy the difference of that culture, and this makes the tourist more interested, more valued. This para also gives an idea how much important it is to value, to protect your own cultural heritage. Now, what are the activities that tourists enjoy most during traveling? There is a list. There is also a table in your book. You can see now, you can see some examples like dining at restaurants, shopping, visiting historical sites, visiting small towns, sightseeing, touring the countryside, and there are many more. So also, can you name some of the activities that you love during your tour? For example, taking a guided tour. You can also want to attend a sports event, participate in ecological excursion. You can go for visiting an amusement park. You can go to visit a museum, a gallery, a national park. You can be a part of to see a heritage site. So there are many activities that tourists enjoy, and these are important for you to understand this example, because if you want to make your profession in tourism sector, you need to have proper idea what are the places, what are the activities that tourists mostly enjoy. Now, shopping. So there are many things, but for one thing, if we want to say, that is shopping is an essential element in tourism. When people travel, they love to shop a lot, and they love to take some souvenir with them, uh, that make them relate with the place. Now, shopping is very important for travelers. Then there is also entertainment, which is very satisfying for visitors. Visitors, not all forms of entertainment can be successfully described or illustrated in tourist promotional literature. Students, now when you will be, you'll go to the entertainment sector. Actually, people love entertainment, and when people are traveling, they want to be entertained. You have to keep it in mind, and you can arrange special events for the for your tourists. You can make them travel the museums and art galleries. You can uh, you can arrange some sports event for them. You can arrange some cultural show for them. So all of this might be a source of entertainment for the tourists. Now we are stepping into a new topic, that is matching supply with demand. Students, providing an ample tourism supply to meet anticipated demand is a challenge for the tourism planner or manager. Supply functions are always constrained by demand. The following formula can be used to calculate the number of hotel rooms required. So, from this part you understood it is difficult for manager, difficult and also very crucial for a manager to anticipate the demand. For example, you have a particular level of supply, physical supply, your natural resources, there is everything. But if you are wrong in anticipating the customer's demand, it might be a great difficulty for you to manage the demand of customer. Now, for example, you are manager of an hotel, and for any season you want to anticipate the demand of rooms for your hotel or for your resort. Now, how can you anticipate the room demand? How can you anticipate what might be the number of demand for your customer? There is a formula to understand, to calculate the number of hotel rooms required. The first one is what you have to do. You have to anticipate the number of tourists. Then you have to multiply it with the percentage of staying in hotel, as in how much time they are staying in that hotel. Then average stay, how many days they or how many hours they are actually staying in a hotel. Then you have to divide it by 365, which is multiplied by average number of persons per room. This is a very popular formula to anticipate room demand of customer. Now, this formula is also written by this R equals to T into P into L divided by S into N. So here R refers to the room demand, T refers to the number of tourists, P refers to percentage of staying, as in আপনার টুরিস্ট কতজন, তাদের কত পার্সেন্ট স্টে করছে, এল হচ্ছে তারা কতক্ষণ স্টে করছে বা কতদিন স্টে করছে, এস refers to the number of days per year in business, and n এখানে কি রেফার করছে যে আপনার টোটাল নাম্বার অফ গেস্ট নাইট বা নাম্বার অফ গেস্ট হচ্ছে পার রুমে কতজন করে নরমালি থাকে। এখন এভাবে করে আপনাদের ম্যাথ দেয়া হতে পারে, যে ধরেন আপনাকে এক্সাম্পল হিসেবে আমরা কয়েকটা ইনফরমেশন দিয়ে দিলাম এবং আপনি কি করবেন, খুব ইজিলি কিন্তু এটা বের করে ফেলবেন। এখানে দেখেন দিয়েছে, ধরেন টোটাল নাম্বার অফ ভিজিটর্স হচ্ছে 15,16,000, their percentage of staying is 98%, usually তারা 9 দিন করে থাকে। তারপরে হচ্ছে আমরা কি দেখতে পাচ্ছি, এন হচ্ছে এখানে 1.69, মানে হচ্ছে প্রত্যেক রুমে এভারেজে একজনের চেয়ে বেশি করে মানুষই থাকে এবং বছরে কর্মদিন হচ্ছে 365 দিন। তো আপনি যদি এভাবে ফর্মুলাতে ফেলেন তাহলে আমরা দেখতে পাচ্ছি ওই নির্দিষ্ট বছরের জন্য কাস্টমারদের ডিমান্ড ফুলফিল করার জন্য 31,866টি রুম কিন্তু কোম্পানি কি হচ্ছে দরকার হচ্ছে, ঠিক আছে, রুম ডিমান্ডের জন্য। তো এটা হচ্ছে 100% ডিমান্ড। Now, there is also another kind of analysis which is called task analysis. Task analysis is a procedure used in matching the supply with the demand. To analyze the supply with the demand, there are 7 steps which are usually followed. The first one is, where's the first one? Identification of the present. Sorry, there is a mistake in the number. So the first one is identification of the present need, demand. The second one is a quantitative and qualitative inventory of the existing supply. The third one is the adequacy of present supply with present demand. The fourth number is the examination of present markets and the socio-economic trends. Then there is forecasts of tourism demand, and then there is matching supply with anticipated demand. So in our next class we shall understand how can we do this task analysis. This is also very difficult and also very broad topic. We shall cover it in the next class. And with that we came to the end of lecture 3. আপনারা সবাই ভালো থাকবেন, সুস্থ থাকবেন, চ্যাপ্টার 3 দ্রুত পড়ে ফেলবেন এবং সবাই অনেক সেফ থাকবেন, ঠিক আছে। আমি বিদায় নিচ্ছি সবার কাছ থেকে। আল্লাহ হাফেজ।